Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and today I would like to talk a little bit about a subset of tabletop gaming, or rather, a more specific question within tabletop gaming that's recently been asked of me a couple times. While I'm certain many videos already cover this, the fact that I've had viewers ask me shows that there's still room for more answers. And that is specifically how to play D&D, or any RPG for that matter, over the internet. Now, before we go into how to play D&D over the internet, the question must be answered, why would you want to play D&D over the internet? Of course, the game itself is classically more fun with face-to-face interaction. That's not always an option for everyone. A player may live in an area where local gaming groups are either scarce or non-existent. A player might be living outside of their native country and be unable to speak the local language well enough to handle the highly verbal nature of most tabletop games. A player might have a family or other responsibilities that keep them from being able to commit to their local gaming group's schedule. The player in question might have got a reputation among their local gaming group, deserved or not, and be looking for new avenues to roleplay. Or the gamer might simply want to add additional games to their schedule beyond what the local group can support. If you do decide to play D&D online, the first thing you have to do, just like a face-to-face game, is find a group. There are many good places to look for groups online. Certain Facebook groups, such as the One Shots group and others, are designed to draw together players looking for a certain type of game. There's forums dedicated to particular RPGs or particular matchup threads on larger sites like Reddit. I believe N-World has a Game Finder section. I'm not entirely sure on that anymore. Some of the virtual tabletop sites that I may list below may also have sections on their forums or the site itself dedicated to listing or finding games. Pretty much any decent role-playing site out there is probably going to have a subsection on just finding groups, unless it's completely banned from that site. Once you've hooked up with a group, you should be given details on how to interact with them. For a play-by-email or forum game, you won't need much in the way of hardware, and the schedules tend to be pretty flexible. Most of those will have certain posting rates listed, a few times per day, once a day, sometimes even just once or twice weekly. Be sure, it's most important to be sure that you're comfortable with whatever that particular posting rate is. There's nothing worse than waiting almost a week for a post in a forum game, only to find out that the other players have completely lost interest in the time that it took you to catch up to them. Other methods of playing D&D online all have their requirements too. Virtual tabletops, voice chat, video chat, all of them require better and better hardware in order to interact. So if you're going that route, you need to make sure that you have the bare minimum, at least, that your particular group wants. For instance, the groups that are full video chat is going to require a decent headset with mic or a separate standalone mic like I have, a decent webcam, and the connection speed to support it. When you look at ways to play role-playing games online, there's several very solid options, many of which I've already touched on. Each one has qualities that lend themselves to a particular gaming style or schedule better than others. There's no best way to do it, because if your particular circumstances don't let you, for instance, have a constant connection or a solid connection for video chat, then that's obviously not an option for you. In terms of general types, there's play-by-post games, which are mostly email and forum games. There's chat-based games, which can either be played over a chat program, such as Internet Relay Chat, IRC, or even Skype. There's virtual tabletops, which are often combined with voice and video chat for an experience that's closer to an actual tabletop game, face-to-face. Playing by email or playing by post is a slower method of playing D&D. It's kind of a throwback to the older days of wargaming. You used to be able to play a war game via actual snail mail. The players would mail their moves to one another, and the game would progress from there. Playing by email, it very much takes from that, and I'm going to touch on that in more detail a little bit later. Both forum and email games are similar in their pacing, giving players more time to think on their characters' actions, allowing for more diverse schedules amongst players that don't necessarily need to line up. You could have somebody that comes on at 3 in the morning your time, and you could be playing with them just fine, even if you don't get up till 6, just because you're exchanging static posts rather than engaging in a face-to-face conversation. Forum and email generally allows for a combination of text and image-based posts, which can enable battle maps to be displayed. It can let you put out player handouts and inspirational images, character sketches, that sort of thing. And you can put them directly into the posts for most of the time, or as attachments in an email. And that gives you a little bit of the tabletop experience right there. Is player handouts always a nice touch for me. Now, for specific methods, playing by email is generally accomplished by players forwarding an email containing their character's actions, either to a mailing list that is then put to everybody, to a particular dungeon master who will then take everybody's actions and decide the turn order from that, or a lot of times simply by carbon copying it to all players. That last method kind of facilitates an open table sort of discussion. But it can get kind of busy in your email box. This kind of game lends itself to a more tactical, slower experience that focuses on the crunch, really, while still allowing for long, prose-like descriptions when necessary. It kind of takes things like conversations and inter-character interaction and kind of scales it back a little bit by necessity. Things that require more real-time responses like that can really drag a game out when it's conducted over email. So while they're not necessarily avoided a lot of times, they ask players to limit, or not necessarily ask players to limit to it, but you're not going to get a lot of players that are going to be real happy with a game where they have to wait for two people to email back and forth over the course of many days a particular conversation. Now, a forum game, also known as a play-by-post game, is very similar to a play-by-email game, except that it's generally run in one thread on a forum, or in some sites they offer you an entire group of threads, like a sub-thread, where the players can see posts from other players as they are posted. This allows for the kind of flexibility of schedule that you see in email games, but it also allows for more direct character interactions, since they can post back and forth with very little intervention while the rest of the group can catch up later. That having been said, a forum game with a slower posting rate may have either stated or unstated courtesy rules that say if you're engaging in a conversation with somebody, don't go run away with the posting. Give the other players in the group time to respond, even though they may not log on until later that particular day. I personally play and run several forum-based games on rpol.net, and I have, really enjoyed them thus far. Another way of playing D&D online involves the use of chat programs, either verbal, video, or just text only, such as Internet Relay Chat. Skype can work like that. I believe that some people may have even just used a straight Google Hangouts and only used the voice chat in the video chat on that. This, unlike the prior versions, does require you to set aside a scheduled time to meet with the group, just like you would in a face-to-face group. Basically, the entire group gets in on the same chat channel or program, and plays as if they were at a tabletop. Because it doesn't actually integrate a virtual tabletop, it relies heavily on the Dungeon Master's descriptions and the player's descriptions. It's very verbal in nature. It lends itself to the kind of theater of the mind style of play, where you're not necessarily focusing on every little detail of the map, and you're more playing out the combat with a certain fluidity. A lot of these will In fact, most of these types of games will require some sort of dice bot, which is basically a script that can sit in a chat channel or on the side that can generate random numbers. Unless you feel comfortable with the DM just rolling the dice on his end and just taking whatever he rolls. That works just as well. If you're playing using Skype or some similar solution, however, it's not that much trouble to use a full virtual tabletop solution. Now, a virtual tabletop program generally has an area for shared maps and graphics. You can go ahead and move your character tokens on it just like you would a battle map on a game board. They usually have an integrated dice roller and an integrated chat solution for those who don't have video or voice chat. They sometimes have methods to keep character sheets and other critical information in the program itself. I know certain ones have like DM to player handouts the DM can just drag and drop. I know a lot of the virtual tabletops, the better ones, have music that you can play and everybody can listen to it. These can be web programs like Roll20.net, a really nice one that incorporates video chat as well. Or a standalone Java or native application such as the RP Tools suite of Java applications, or Fantasy Grounds, which I believe is the official D&D licensed tabletop right now for their virtual tabletop. I know they've got a bunch of D&D licensed things that you can actually just plug and play on, most of the 5th edition adventures, for instance, that sort of thing. Other virtual meeting software that's not specifically virtual tabletop can allow for document sharing, and that can certainly be used. I believe Google Hangouts counts as that, because it's not necessarily a virtual tabletop, but it can be used as one. A virtual tabletop solution with integrated video chat, or a combination of a virtual tabletop and something like Skype or something, can result in an experience that is very close to a face-to-face D&D game. It will still require a decent connection, an adequate webcam for your group, and a headset with a decent mic or headphones with a mic, because you don't want to use your mic without headphones unless you're very, very good at eliminating the feedback. It's become such an accepted way of doing things. Just from a simple search of Twitch or YouTube can find footage of a lot of those sorts of games and give you a good idea of what you need to set up your own online D&D game. As far as that goes, there are maybe a couple other things that another couple other methods or kind of combination thereof. Some people prefer to use actual games like Neverwinter Nights or things like Second Life to give kind of a visual flair to it. That's a lot more work than the average dungeon master really can bother with, needs to bother with. And the fact that the visualizations are there kind of detracts a bit from the imagination part of the game. So I prefer to limit my discussion to playing D&D online to things that don't involve a standalone game. I hope that information has been helpful. This is a beautiful time to be online. It's a time where online capabilities are ramping up all around the globe, and they're allowing players all over the world to connect and play, almost as if they were just down the street. I still encourage anyone who has the materials and think they have some friends that might be interested in face-to-face games to teach them the game anyway, just to expand the player base overall. But at least now there's some good workarounds for when you just don't have people who are interested in the game, they live too far away, or you just don't have friends, or local friends, I should say. And it's good to have that option. I remember a time not so long ago where even forum games were a thing to be just dreamed of. I'm going to leave it at that. For now, this has been the RPG Crawler. Thank you for watching. I hope you've been enjoying the tabletop-related content I've been putting together. I'm going to try and do more of it. If you'd like to see more of it, of course, leave a comment just comment below, and like, share, subscribe, whatever you can if you enjoy this content. And I will say it. Until next time, take care and goodbye.